Hi, my name is Tammy, and I'm with Giving Tree Global. Welcome to 7 Minutes with God. Something that I find so important in my life is to share the ways that God is moving within my life. So often I think He's speaking and moving more than I ever realize. And so it's important that as He speaks and as He moves, we talk about it so that my faith is increased as I recount the ways that He has been faithful and good and loving. And so that also within your heart may spark something that reminds you and shows you that God is so present and active and aware and moving in your life. And so every once in a while, we'll get on and share things that God is doing and saying so that our faith and hopefully your faith is increased. So this morning, I'm coming and talking to you about a story out of Genesis chapter 4. Genesis is the first book of the Bible. And in chapter 4, there is a story about two brothers, Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were born to Adam and Eve, and they were given specific jobs to do. Abel was in charge of the livestock, so he tended to all of the animals. Cain was in charge of the produce and the agriculture, so he grew all the things that they needed to eat. And they were both told to bring a sacrifice to the Lord. And so in Genesis chapter 4, we see this story unfold, where Abel comes and he brings the best thing that he has to offer. The choice fat from the choice animals, the firstborn. He brings the best thing that he has for himself to God, and God is pleased with it. Well, we know from the story that Cain also brings something, but God wasn't pleased with it. And so we assume that what he brought was not the best thing that he had to offer. See, I always read this story. I grew up in church. I've heard the story 1,000 times, and I used to always read it through the lens of rejection. That because Cain didn't bring the best thing, God rejected him. And so in my head, I used to think that, well, God is also going to reject me because I can't bring the best. Because I used to think the best was perfection, when that's not necessarily what God is saying in this story. I'm not going to be perfect all the time. I'm not going to be able to bring what I thought God was asking me to bring. But when you look at this story a little bit deeper, you understand God's actually doing something vastly different. And so I want to read to you a little portion of Genesis 4, starting at verse 6. So essentially, Cain brings this offering to God, and it wasn't his best. And God rejected it. And Cain got really upset and really angry. I used to always think that God rejected Cain, when that's not actually what's going on. I want to look at verse 6. So Cain is angry. Then the Lord says to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it." God's not saying that you have to be perfect. God is not telling Cain, you have to be perfect. What he's saying is, hey, you didn't bring me your best. And don't get mad, don't get upset. Just get up and try it again. You know it is right. Just get up and do it again. I got so stuck for such a long period of my life because I was so focused on the things that I couldn't do. I was so focused on the things that I messed up in that I couldn't bring myself to God. I couldn't pick myself up and try it again. My children both are involved in sports. And one of the things that we try and communicate to them and to their teammates and their friends is that you are not going to have a perfect game every time. You are not going to have a perfect game. You're not going to do everything right. It doesn't matter that you're perfect. What matters is when you mess up, when you fail, when you do something wrong, that you get back up and you try it again. Because I've seen time and time and time again, and even experienced it within my own life, when I allow those mistakes, the things that I failed in to take me out, I can't recover. And so for so many years, I couldn't go back to God because I was so focused on the sin. I was so focused on my failures and my brokenness. And I thought because I couldn't bring the perfect sacrifice that God was rejecting me, when that's just not the case. See, God didn't reject Cain. He rejected what he brought him, but he said, it's okay, get back up and try it again. God says, it's okay that you messed up. It's okay that you're not perfect. Get back up and try it again. So if you feel stuck today, if you feel as if you cannot approach God because you aren't perfect, that's okay. There has only ever been one person who is perfect, and that's Jesus, and he died for us. God is not disappointed in you. And I couldn't approach him. I couldn't return to him when that's what he's saying here. He's saying, return to me. Bring what you can. Stop focusing on what you can't do and focus on what you can do. Because he even continues to say in the second part of verse 6, if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. Meaning what he's giving us are the tools to master it. If we don't do what is right, if we stay down, if we stay buried by our sin and condemnation, we're not going to be able to get back up. God's saying, I need you to be able to get back up and bring to me what you can. It may not be perfect. He's not asking us to be perfect. He's asking us to bring the best version of ourselves. And as we come to him with what we have, the best of what we have, he's going to teach us and he's going to show us and he's going to mold us. Don't be hindered by what you don't have. I encourage you to return to God and let him work it out. Let him deal with it. Our job is to get back up and to try again. Thank you for watching.